I think what we need to recognize, first of all, is that Copenhagen wasn't a failure, because many people have portrayed it as being a failure. I think it was less ambitious than the legally binding agreement that people wanted. It was less ambitious than the political binding agreement that people have tried to push for, but it was already something. Of course, we didn't reach the numbers that Africa wanted. Africa wanted to see numbers such as $100 billion put on the table for adaptation, $85 to $100 billion put on the table for mitigation. We are far from that, but we already have some numbers. We have $10 billion for the next 3 years. I mean, for each year, $10 billion, and it's already something. Now we need to start do some consultative work and discuss on how that money is going to be spent. We want least developed countries to have a fair share of that money. We want some of that money to go to forest. If 20% of global emissions come from deforestation, then maybe 20% of the problem should get 20% of the solution, 20% of the money. I believe then in the forestry sector, maybe an action could be implemented. And something is already being done with the FCPF dealing with RED, which is one of the initiatives of the World Bank. But we need to look at the way to manage the forest in a more sustainable manner. We need to bring capacity of people on how they do their agriculture. Once again, I mean, those two subjects, I believe, are intertwined. You also need to look at how to do afforestation, reforestation projects also. So I believe that one of the main sectors should be the energy sector. How to develop energy capacity using clean means, using new technology, or to be more efficient when it comes to energy. And we're not just talking about high-tech processes. You can start with low-tech processes, such as more efficient cook stoves, for example, for households. So we have to look at the energy sector. And also, when you look at the level of access to energy, often it's related to pressure on the forest. So if you want to protect forests, maybe you need to find also solutions for energy demand. Another sector, I believe, could be agriculture. Right now, people mostly do subsistence agriculture, which is not very efficient. For example, someone to clear 1 hectare to do agriculture will burn 10 hectares of forest, of grassland. So we should try to implement more efficient agriculture practices. Several things can be done. For example, to change the current rules, to try to give some permanence to temporary credits, which comes from afforestation, reforestation projects. The forestry credits are temporary. You need to register them every 5 years. So these type of projects are shunned by investors. They're not very interested. So maybe if we can find a way to make these credits, these forestry credits, permanent through some type of insurance scheme or establishing some buffer zones when you implement your project, it would be a good thing. Also, maybe simplifying the rules for Africa or for least developed countries, try to do some type of positive discrimination, because it seems like China, India, Brazil have a comparative advantage to do CDM project, and Sub-Saharan Africa is at a competitive disadvantage. So then to try to level the playing field, maybe the rules should be more flexible for Africa as far as the proof of additionality is concerned, as far as some methodologies, as far as the scale of projects, because sometimes small-scale projects don't get the support because people feel like they won't be profitable enough. We believe that governance is paramount in this process, but governance should call for transparencies from both sides. Of course, developing countries, when implementing actions, those actions should be measured, they should be reported, they should be verified for us to be sure that money is going to credible mechanism, to mechanisms that are guaranteeing market integrity and environment integrity. But then there should also be government and transparency from donor countries. We want to make sure that the money which is pledged is really coming our way and that we're not doing more than what is supposed to come to accompany us. Public money alone won't be able to suffice for the needs. So the private sector needs also to get in. But we feel like the private sector shouldn't get the lion's share because the private sector has, the rationale for the private sector is really to make a profit. So we're talking about development challenges. So we need to find the right balance between contribution from the private sector, which is mostly motivated by profit, with the other needs as far as development is concerned. When you look at climate change today, you must look at the impact it has on the daily life of Africans. For example, it is becoming more difficult for Africans to grow crops they used to grow easily. People who have cattle are finding it's more difficult to get pasture. People are facing droughts, floods. So how can they build some resilience to all these changing conditions around them? So capacity building, I think, will encompass all dimensions of their life. But I believe to be more concrete, I think capacity building can be done in agricultural sector, like I said earlier, the energy sector, or for example, to use more efficient carbonization when it comes to trying to have to produce charcoal, trying to cook with more efficient cooking stoves. Some solutions which can appear very simple and very small scale, but when you multiply it by the number of households in the continent, can have a huge impact.